eyes. You've seen the moon and its darker side. I can feel the gravity, the forces pull between you and me. Yes, it's true, I'm falling hard for you, but I won't rush this love. I can wait even if it's hard to take. One moment is enough. I will be standing here right by your side. I will be standing here till the end of time. I will be standing here all through the night, till the stars align.
Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing? Welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast. I've got a smile on my face. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's more the fact that we're back doing a live match reaction of Oxford United and League One live for you to get interacting with here on the podcast. But I'm not smiling because of the result and because of how the game really panned out. Oxford United lost to Plymouth Argyle by 3-1 this afternoon. So much to get into, and I want to hear from you as always. Give your thoughts in the live chat. I've got so much to get through. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to do a live episode of the podcast, talking with you. We were discussing and breaking down games of football, hearing your thoughts. Getting that real interactive live show back on the podcast. But I'm not happy about the game I'm having to come back and do it with, because Oxford United really, I wouldn't say were disappointing. I would say it's a disappointing result, and aspects of the game were disappointing. I thought there were moments where Oxford United looked fairly decent, but either way, we lose the game, which tends to mean it is quite a disappointing mood and atmosphere around the place, and unfortunately around this podcast episode, which is a bit of a shame really, because the home game is where we normally do our live match reaction. We have not lost a game at home until today. This is the first live episode of the podcast in which it ends in a defeat, which is very, very upsetting. And it's an annoying streak to end, isn't it, really? But either way, can you give your thoughts in the live chat straight away, and leave a like and subscribe, both of which is free and easy. But most importantly, hearing your thoughts in the live chat. I'll be reading out every single one of your thoughts, discussing it, like I said, and breaking it down as well. First of all, I'm going to talk about Plymouth Argyle, because I think they deserve to have themselves spoken about after the game today. Fair play to them. They were a well-organised side. I thought they sold out. They asked for extra allocation in the Kassam this afternoon, and they filled it, and they were absolutely amazing. It created a fantastic atmosphere. As much as we didn't really want to hear them, as much as we did, unfortunately, we're hoping we won't have to see hear too many away roars. But we did. We had to hear it 3 times, which is a bit of a shame. But ultimately, on the pitch, as well as they were fantastic off it, on the pitch, they were very, very well organised. They looked a very, very good side. They were top of the league going into this game. They're still top of the league now, and there's no surprise. They're not top of the league by fluke. They look like a really, really well organised side that definitely deserve to be where they are. Really, I'd say they are the best team I've watched this season. I've only missed 2 Oxford United games this season. That was Cambridge United and Wimbledon. Other than that, I've watched every game this season, and I've generally thought this has been the best team that I've seen play against Oxford. And that again, we've played Charlton, we played Lincoln, we've played Gillingham, we've played Accrington, we've played quite a few teams this season. Ultimately, they were certainly the best ones, in my opinion. Very, very, very good. Paul Gross says we just can't take our chances. I think that is really the moral of the story, Paul. I think you're spot on. We spoke about it against Gillingham as well. We have had a game in between that, the Sheffield Wednesday game, which we didn't have too many chances, but we were very, very clinical and won the game 2-1. Today, we had a lot of chances, yet couldn't find the back of the net. Other than the first chance, was a fantastic goal, a fantastic ball over from James Henry, a really good finish from Matty Taylor. You almost felt that goal came a little bit too quickly, though. There was a bit of complacency in that. When we scored that first goal, you felt like there was a bit of... the lead only lasted 5 minutes, which shows everything, really, doesn't it? We sort of I think we relaxed, maybe took our foot off the gas a little bit, allowed Plymouth to get into the game. When you allow Plymouth into the game, things can start causing problems. When you let league leaders come into the game, things can start really going the way you don't want them to. Remember, keep giving your thoughts in the comments and in the live chat. It's really important you give yours in the live chat, like Paul has. I'll be discussing and talking about those different points. I want to hear from both perspectives. Oxford United perspectives and a Plymouth perspective as well. My voice is slowly going, hence why my words are slightly misjointed. There's a lot of passionate thoughts being given from me from the stands. Of course, the other 8,000 odd fans as well in the ground. Lots of different perspectives. And I'll hear from yours now in the live chats as well. But for Oxford, like Paul says, it's a little bit of same old story this season, isn't it, really? Not being clinical and not really taking chances. And when you do both of those things, or like I said, in this case, when you don't do both of those things, which is not take chances, and not be clinical, things can really start. And also, when you like today as well, I don't think we were great defensively either. You've got a real sense of and a real sort of bunch of ingredients there that aren't going to get you the best aren't going to get you the best results, and aren't going to get you best, the best outcomes in games of football. Again, I think we saw that quite a lot today. There was a spell in that second half, a 20-minute spell where we were just absolutely going at Plymouth Argyle, really causing problems, really piling on the pressure. Plymouth soaked up the pressure and were able to deal with it. But Oxford, we needed that spell. When you have those spells in games, it's so important that you take those chances and you take those spells in games. You have to be able to do that. You're not going to get those chances and those spells for 90 minutes. It's impossible to keep that momentum and keep that speed up. When you do have it, though, you have to take those chances. Oxford were unable to do that, and that's where we find ourselves in these difficult situations and losing games 3-1 because Plymouth took their chances. Plymouth took their chances. We didn't. They won the game 3-1, and that really is the horrible Oxford United side perspective in simple terms. They took the chances. We didn't. We were a little bit sloppy defensively, I must say, and that's where things went wrong. And I think that's going to be something that Karl Robinson and the players are going to have to really look at in more detail tomorrow and before the next game. I mean, they haven't got long, have they? They've got tomorrow, they've got Monday, and then we're back against Shrewsbury on Tuesdays. They haven't got time to change those things. They haven't got time really to make too many changes, but they've got to learn from those mistakes. And are we learning from those mistakes? I think we are in different parts of games. It does feel a little bit like one big step forward against Sheffield Wednesday and then 2 steps back. I thought we were really good against Sheffield Wednesday. Took to a game that was going to be so difficult and played some really good football. And came away with a fantastic result. Today we created some chances, but I don't think we're good enough defensively and couldn't take chances against a side we knew were going to play on that counter-attack and are very good at playing on that counter-attack, which is very frustrating. Paul says Plymouth fans will exit. It seems like if Plymouth carry on like this, they could have a really good season. Paul, I think you're spot on, mate. I thought the fans were fantastic, I've already mentioned. And also, I think it's really important that Plymouth do continue the way they are playing if they want to be successful. If they play like they do, like they did against a lot of teams in this league. I think Jerome said it on the radio on the way back. He said, they're not spectacular, but they're very good at what they do. I thought there are moments they play, I've got to be honest, that were very good, but they're just well organised. And they're a very good unit, and they do what they want to do just very well. And they did that so well today. FAB, console game in Green Army. I always look forward to games against you, as it's normally a good game to watch regardless of the result. Yeah, and like I said as well, it was a really good game to watch. It wasn't a great game from an Oxford perspective in terms of going away from the result, looking at the result and walking away too pleased with it, but ultimately it was a good game of football. Oxford United, like we thought. I thought Plymouth actually had more of the ball than I thought they would, I'm not going to lie. I thought Plymouth maybe I thought would be playing a little bit more in the counter-attack, and Oxford would have a little bit more of the ball and keep hold of the ball in the possession terms slightly more than they did. But ultimately that wasn't the case. There are moments where I thought Plymouth were really dominant, and the possession stats will be really interesting. I'll get them on the screen for you now as well. I'll bring up the stats straight away so you can have a look at them, but you can see here straight away with the statistics. I'll just quickly get them up. There was a 56 possession overall to Oxford, but there were moments in the game and were moments in that, particularly the first half, I thought, where it was much closer, and you can see there my point is proven pretty comfortably with the possession stats. It was 50-50 possession in that first half. It was the second half really that Oxford started taking control. There you can say 61% possession in that second half. We started to dominate the game. We started to really pile on the pressure. Ultimately Plymouth could deal with it. They did deal with it. It's why and they basically just caught us off the counter attack, and you have to risk it. You have to risk the game. We're not going to we're going to go at them, and ultimately we are going to be exposed. And we saw that Plymouth, we know, are very, very good at doing what they do, which is also being very, very good in possession, but also counter-attack as well. They look very, very good. They're well organised at being able to do that as well. They're well suited to do that. They've got the players to fit that very, very well. And ultimately, they had a plan. They executed to perfection, and we saw that again. You can see in that second half, we had 10 shots. Altogether, we had 14 shots. It says 2 on target there, which is slightly interesting. They actually have more shots on target, but we did have more shots. In terms of chances created as well, big chance. We had one in the first. We had one overall, apparently. Didn't have any big chance in the second half, apparently, which is interesting. I thought maybe, in terms of how they judge big chances, I thought we had a few big chances in the second half, maybe. But, you can see that ultimately the possession really does tell the story a lot. And what I was trying to prove there as well is that I thought in the first half they had much more of the ball, Plymouth, than I thought they would. In the second half, when we were chasing the game, they were able to not have as much possession. They allowed us to have the ball, and then they hit us on that counter-attack. And you can see with how they set up, there was different parts of that game that were set up very, very well from a Plymouth perspective. Sam Long seemed off it tonight, and the ref was once again awful. We will come on to the referee. There's a few shouts for potential penalties, and actually in the game as well, I thought he maybe was a little bit lenient towards Plymouth. We can sit here and blame the ref, Paul, and I think you've got a good point at times. I think that Plymouth made, I think the referee made a few poor decisions from an Oxford point of view. But do I think that would change many things? Maybe if they're given a penalty, that obviously would have changed the game, if we'd scored it, of course. But again, ultimately, if we just take the ref out of it from both decisions, if we take the Plymouth decisions, the Oxford decisions away from the referee, and we look at it once again at face value, I still thought Plymouth were well organised enough to win the game. Although we did have chances, and people will argue that maybe Oxford did have enough to win the game with the chances they had. At the same time, Plymouth were a very, very good side, and we're able to do that. And I am being very, very complimentary of Plymouth, and I'm not just doing that for the sake of it. I generally was very, very impressed with how they had a plan, how they had a tactic, and how they executed it very, very well. I want to talk about that Plymouth setup as well. You can see it on the screen here with that back 5, if you like. But it almost felt like a back. It did feel like a back 5. It didn't feel like a back 3, but it did feel like a back 5. But with quite attacking fullbacks, and that does confuse me slightly because when I say that almost does then feel like a 3. But they were very, very almost automatic fullbacks with what they did, where they were almost they were perfectly trained in the sense that they were going forward very, very well. But also, very, very rarely were they actually exposed when we came at those fullbacks as well. It wasn't one of those where they were bombing forward a lot of the time and then getting exposed defensively. Actually, that was very, very similar to how Oxford played today. Because in that back four, you can see it there, Seddon, Thornley, Elliott Moore and Sam Long. I think this sort of fullback and flank situation is something to really, really look into. I thought Sam Long, as Paul mentioned there, and coming on to his point, I do agree with him in the statement that I thought Sam Long didn't look great. But I don't know whether or not that was Sam Long himself or that was how we tactically set up, in the sense that he was very, very far up the pitch. He was definitely looking to go forward, how we know Sam Long does, how we know Steve Seddon likes to do as well. And it wasn't just Sam Long. Steve Seddon was definitely accountable of doing this at different moments in the game, but Sam Long just felt like he did it a little bit more often and certainly more noticeable. He was very, very far up the pitch, and because those fullbacks were very, very good from a Plymouth side of actually going forward, but also being very, very solid defensively, which I think Stevie also said on the radio as well, Stevie Kidderbury, he said how important it is. Ultimately, your number one job as a fullback is to defend, as well as Plymouth going, looking good going forward with the likes of Grant and Edwards pinning the fullbacks back. They were also very, very good defensively, and also with Sam Long then going forward as well. They had the likes of Ryan Broom and Kamara didn't feel like he was playing there. It did almost feel like a midfield. Felt like a midfield two with Houghton and Kamara, and then Broom playing as more of a winger, maybe a bit more a narrow winger, but certainly not in that central area. Certainly not as central as Houghton and Kamara were as narrow. Broom definitely felt like he was a little bit further out wide, and that then caused problems. And maybe that wasn't intended. Maybe it was intended to have a midfield three quite flat of those three Plymouth midfielders, but because of Sam Long's positioning and because he was quite far forward, it allowed Broom to get in behind, and that's where it caused problems. That front two of Jepchott and Garrick, there was no Hardie starting today. He was on the bench, but I still thought Garrick, who came into this side, he scored the goal. I thought it was tremendous this afternoon. I thought what he did actually in possession and out of possession was very, very clever. He was very, very good at holding off the ball and actually, guarding the ball away from Elliot Moore. A lot of times he had his back to goal, and it also he didn't look like a very, very physical player in terms of physique, but he definitely kept hold of the ball as well. And that links back to how I thought Elliot Moore played and Jordan Thornley. I thought that it was going to be interesting going into this game how those two were going to deal with it. Whether it was going to be Hardie and Jepchott, or it turned out to be Jepchott and Garrick. It was going to be interesting how our two Oxford United defenders, in particular centre halves, were going to be able to deal with those two forwards. In the end, I wouldn't say they dealt with it as well as they would have intended to, considering one of them scored, and it was actually Jordan Thornley, as I said, was a little bit naive defensively, allowing Garrick to cut inside. When you allow a player with the pace and the dribbling and the skill ability we've got Garrick, that they have with Garrick going forward, that's the issue you've got. You allow him cut inside, you allow him take the shot, he scores. That was a little bit naive defending. What you want to do there is show him continuing down the flank and down the touchline, and then allow him to try and obviously stop the cross. When you let him cut in on his stronger foot and you let him slot it into the bottom right, that was a little bit naive, I thought, from Jordan Thornley as well. I thought generally today, Jordan, I think he struggled slightly. I'm not going to lie. I thought he looked a little bit sluggish, maybe is the best word of putting it. Maybe not quite on it. And that's not being, I don't mean that in a horrible way towards Jordan Thornley. And I always want to be careful with how I put things, because I've also got to be careful because Jordan Thornley as well has done well this season generally. But I thought today he wasn't quite on it. I think he'll probably agree with that as well. And he'll probably will have to take accountability for that first goal. Have we got any more chats coming in? We've got absolutely loads. And thank you so much for giving your thoughts in straight away. Sam Long seemed off it. We read that one. Argyle played an away day masterstroke. I thought they did. I thought they really, really did. They looked very, very good at what they did. Again, away day masterstroke normally comes down to actually playing on the counter-attack, but they do that anyway, and they executed, like I said, that plan fantastically. FAB Console Gaming says, I think on the whole the standard of refs in this league is poor. I see more bad refs than good ref performances. I think you're spot on. I think you are spot on. I've generally thought that I haven't seen an amazing referee performance this season. I know it's difficult. I think you look more into refs when you lose, especially I do. But ultimately, I also think at the same time, I did think he had a poor game today. There's a few decisions where I think he could have been a little bit more fair, if you like, but the referees are referees. I don't like talking about referees too much because they could, suck away the real sort of nit and gritty of a game. Georgie Glover says, up the ticks. I believe Wigan did win today. What an easy 4-0 derby win. Fantastic to you. Fair play to Wigan Athletic for a fantastic win. Broom and Grant have had a great partnership for us this season. Jeffcott has been playing in a bit deeper this season to get Hardie more this season. So Jeffcott is getting less goals but more assists. I thought that too looks really, really good. I know it wasn't Jeffcott and Hardie today. FAB, but I also thought that with Garrick and with Jeffcott up front, it looked very, very good. Hardie was ill yesterday, so that's why he was dropped. Galloway would normally start instead of Gillespie, is it Gillespie, but has just got back from internationals. Fair enough, yeah, we had a few players come back from internationals. It was actually Gavin White that was one of them, and we'll come on to Gavin White in a second, because I thought once again he did look a little bit off it, unfortunately. I think Gavin White, and here we go, I think Gavin White looked pretty good today. Interesting, two different sides of the story, possibly the best so far this season. It's good to see Taylor's forward coming back. I think you're right in the Taylor bit, Paul. I'd have to disagree slightly with the Gavin White thing. But not too much. I thought that probably was Gavin White's probably most influential performance, but he hasn't been great this season, so it's not that difficult. I think you're spot on with Matty Taylor. He looked very, very good. The assist from James Henry was fantastic. The finish, actually, from Matty Taylor was very, very composed. A striker's effort that we know that on his day Matty Taylor can produce, and that is obviously a fantastic goal. But going back to Gavin White, he played in that sort of behind the number 9 in that first half. And in the second half, it was James Henry that came in there. Gavin White did look much better in the second half. And in that first half, he looked a little bit lost, if you like. Didn't really get hold of the ball. We weren't able to create too many chances from the centre of the pitch. And we don't normally play with an attacking midfielder like that. We normally like to play a 4-3-3 with a holding midfielder, a deeper line midfielder, if you like, and then have a midfield 2 in front of that, with one slightly more advanced, one sort of, I guess, breaking the lines, if you like, however you put it in technical terms. And, going forward and causing problems like that. Herbie Kane, Cameron Brannagan, and then Gorin was the midfield three that played against Sheffield Wednesday. I don't want to talk too much about the team, the team Oxford United going into the game, because I've actually got a really, really interesting episode of the podcast coming out tomorrow, and I am going to spoil it because I am going to schedule it, and it's going to go out as a premiere. I actually sat down with Oxford United commentator, broadcaster. I did it with Nick Harris, the series of interview I got here on the podcast. I sat down with Jerome Sale. So that's going to come out tomorrow about 7 p.m. And we did go into a little bit more detail about that midfield three and how you'd approach the game. We actually took a little bit about Plymouth going into the game as well, because we recorded it on Thursday. So slightly interesting now to look at it now. Of course, we've lost the game, but still, definitely not one to miss out on. It was probably about 5 minutes of an hour podcast episode, but still interesting. And to look at how we maybe thought the game would have panned out to how it actually did. Some things we got absolutely wrong, because you can't predict the future. Some things we actually got right as well. So definitely take a look at that. That'll be coming out at 7 p.m. tomorrow. And that does link to what I was saying about that midfield three and how Gavin White is playing as that attacking midfield in that first half. Maybe we could have started Gorin. It's easy to say now. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Of course it is. But yeah, interesting point of view for sure. Matthew Bell, welcome to the stream, my friend. I believe that's your first chat. Matthew, an absolute legend. Along with Paul. Not everyone, but Matthew, of course, is a little bit of a VIP here in the here in the podcast. Similar with Paul as well. They're Oxford United fans that love to come in and have a chat. It's great to see you, Matthew. Just got here. Have I missed? You missed a few things, Matthew, but you can always watch it back, of course. In simple terms, Oxford United didn't take their chances. Plymouth did. We lost the game 3-1. Disappointing result today, but at least we have a game on Tuesday to put it right. Exactly, and we haven't got to wait long, have we? We've got a game on Tuesday against Shrewsbury, which will be really, really interesting. Shrewsbury going to be a completely different game to this one. Plymouth are top of the league. Shrewsbury are one from bottom, I think, or maybe two from bottom. I do apologise, Shrewsbury fans. I doubt there's any watching at the moment. But either way, I think you're right. That there is a chance for Oxford United to put things right and make a positive impact, and really sort of, like you said, put it right. That's the best way of putting it. Steve says, something I noticed about refs this season is they do tend to favour the away side, so I think it will balance itself just over the season. Maybe, mate. Maybe that's a way of looking at it. I'm trying to remember if there's a refereeing decision against Sheffield that maybe was a little bit fortunate towards Oxford. I can't quite remember, but maybe you're right. Maybe there is something in that. Again, you'd have to look at that. You'd have to really look at it over the season. But what I'd also say as well is Oxford United, we as a losing side, it's quite easy to maybe sort of blame the referee. Maybe I don't think you're blaming him, but I also think, I definitely look into that in an interesting way. I also think about that attacking side, similar to what Paul said. That attacking front three, you can see on the screen here, Nathan Holland, Gavin White, James Henry, Matty Taylor, and even Brannagan and Herbie Kane. I actually think that's Oxford United's strongest side, which is interesting, and I'll come on to what I mean by that. I do think that is Oxford United's strongest 11. I've got to be honest, I think it is. I think it's Oxford United's strongest 11 on paper. Whether or not maybe in form you could bring players in. Sykes just won player of the month, but didn't start today. And maybe on form you maybe put him ahead of Gavin White, and I wouldn't have been upset if that had happened. But in terms of when everyone's available, when everyone's fit, and when you can field your best 11 on paper, that would probably be it. Unfortunately, with those attacking players, specifically that front four, Nathan Holland, Gavin White, James Henry, and Taylor, at the moment, they just don't seem to be clicking as a four. And like I said, I don't think they've all four played together yet this season, so that's quite a, that's obviously, you've got to cut them some slack there, of course you have. But I also think as well, today, we're still waiting for a bit of a spark and a bit of a click. And like I said, they haven't all played together. But Nathan Holland, Matty Taylor, James Henry have, with Sykes playing in there as well. So it's only been one change different in that four. I don't feel like that attacking side is completely fluid and exactly there just quite yet. But with time and with more and more games and a bit more momentum and work, I think that will come. But yeah, that is an interesting way of looking at it. We were doing a video of reacting to the games again this week. As in I know what you mean. All the action, League One, all the action, a series I do enjoy doing. I mean, I may do, mate. I may do. It probably will be out though, either Monday or Tuesday, because I'm actually not available to really record tomorrow. It will either I may be able to record it late night on Sunday or later on Sunday, but it won't be edited and ready to go out until at least Monday or Tuesday, maybe Monday. But if that's something you wanted to see, Georgie, sorry, not George, I've been calling you George. It's Georgie, I believe. Yeah, definitely. If you want to see that, and if people want to see that, I'll continue that series. Yeah, I won't be able to record it, and it won't probably be out for Sunday. But I might be able to record it on Sunday, get it out for Monday. If that's something you want to see, definitely. I do enjoy that series. Haven't been able to do it quite recently because, like I said, I have been quite busy on Sundays now. But yeah, I definitely think it'll be okay. Oh, okay, no worries. I mean, I'll still do it, mate. If people want to see it, and like I said on this podcast, if people want to see it, then I'll do it, and that's the way it is. If I enjoy doing it, and if you like watching it, we'll create it, and that's something that I've always been very, very passionate about since we started the podcast. But it's good. It's good to see you've mentioned it, because it proves that there is something. I am doing something right with that series, and it is an interesting one. But the thing is with it, it needs a bit of work in terms of the editing side of it, which I won't go into because it's not the time to go into it. But I think it has a potential to be really, really quite good. But at the same time, you can't be waiting too long, if you know what I mean. Because normally I record them on Sunday, get it out on Sunday. You almost need to record them on Sunday and get them out by Tuesday or Wednesday with a really clever edit. So I could maybe do that this weekend, depending, or this tomorrow Sunday, to get it out on Monday. But interesting point of view. Kamara's my man of the match. I'm just going through my notes here. Kamara in that midfield, I already mentioned him briefly. I thought he was fantastic. He got 2 goals today. And I thought was man of the match. I know Matty Taylor got given man of the match officially, but that's because obviously with the home side, so they normally give it to the home side. George is a fan of your Martin Tyler-esque commentary. He is, mate, and can't you blame him, Matthew? You just can't blame him. Can you really blame him? Beautiful commentary. Beautiful, beautiful commentary. Talk about Martin Tyler, like I said, cheeky plug. I'm not interviewing Martin Tyler, but I am interviewing a commentator, and I have interviewed a commentator. It's coming out tomorrow. So you want a little insight in football commentary? I'll be talking about basically what it's like to be a football commentator, the real insight in that industry, as well as talk about Oxford. I'll talk about League One as well. It's not just Oxford based; it's League One based. It's football commentary, football podcast based. That's coming out at 7 p.m. tomorrow. So yeah, you don't have to listen to me do my Oxford United commentary-esque voice. You can actually listen to an official commentator that's professionally paid, and actually professionally good at what he does. Other than that, though, Thornley, as we mentioned, Plymouth looking good in midfield, and we mentioned Kamara running that midfield very, very well. My man of the match, I'd say, looked very, 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 very strong. It actually looked quite not. Similar to Garrick, actually, didn't actually look in terms of physique very, very like muscly and strong, but he still controlled the midfield very, very well. Which I'm not saying you don't have to be a absolute bodybuilder to win games in midfield. You can be very, very good technically on the ball. I'm not saying I think that's a very fair point. But you know what I mean? He looked like he I'm trying to be careful how I put this without offending his probably the sports scientist team and the gym science team at Plymouth. But you know what I mean? He generally looked. He was very, very tall, to be fair to him, so he could dominate the air quite well. But he was very, very good technically. Didn't really get involved physically, but because of what he was good actually on the ball and actually technically, he got away with that very, very well and was able to control the game so well. So very, very impressive with Kamara and Garrick as well, both of which were very, very good. And Jepchott, I thought that actually in terms of 3, I thought Luke Jepchott, Garrick and Kamara, all 3 of them were very, very good. And many others as well. I thought Grant on that left back position was good. I thought the captain Edwards was good as well. And yeah, generally they're a good side. Herbie Kane apparently got the best rating other than Matty Taylor as well. So that's interesting. Very, very interesting. I'll be coming to Oxford away. We've booked a hotel. I think it's mid of the summer. Who do you support? Oh no, Wigan. You've already said that, mate. You've already said that you do support Wigan Athletic. I'm going to Oxford. We've booked a hotel. Fair enough. When is the Wigan game? I definitely should know that. Is it in a few weeks' time? I know we've got Shrewsbury, then we've got Burton. Yeah, Wigan did very, very well today, as you can see. We can look at Wigan's result today, because I know we've got the Wigan fan here. 4-0, smashing Bolton 4-0. That's not great at all, is it, from a Bolton perspective? At home, losing 4-0. That is not good. We can have a quick look at... Oh, Shrewsbury, actually. Did Charlton lose again? They didn't lose again, did they? They did lose again. They lost to Lincoln 2-1. Charlton are having an absolute mess. Surely he's got to go. Surely the manager there has got to go. How did Ipswich get on? They drew 2-2, so they're not winning still. Of course, we lost. Bolton lost. Pompey, how did they get on? They lost heavily. Blimey, yeah. All over shop, some of these results today, aren't they? Absolutely all over shop. Anyway, last thoughts on the game. Ladies and gentlemen, I've actually loved it. The interaction's been amazing, by the way, on this podcast episode. And Thogden is livid. He is. Thogden's livid. But I've got to say, Thogden is livid, but Pieface is loving it. So, two massive content creators. One's loving it. One's going to have a fantastic Saturday night into Sunday. One's going to have a pretty awful Saturday night into Sunday. I'm going to have a fairly poor Saturday in terms of we lost the game, so it's always not great. And hopefully I can sleep it off back for Sunday. And then before you know it, I'm back up there for Tuesday night. So there we go. Quick turnaround. But that's the best thing when you lose a game of football, isn't it? Or e-football in general, really. We love watching football. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode of the podcast. I've been Jack. It's been the Young Fan Podcast. It's been my match reaction in League One for Oxford United defeat at home to Plymouth Argyle. The first defeat of the League One season at home. Like I said, for Oxford United. George says I'm just waiting for his video. Yeah, I'm sure his video will be coming out very, very soon. That'll be an interesting watch for sure. Like I said, take care, stay safe. Thank you so much for the support. Pieface is a legend, though, so fair dudes. Yeah, to be fair, you know, Pieface he's a cracking guy. Never met him, but from content-wise, he looks like a good guy, doesn't he? Ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care.